So, 2025 was an insane year for lost media, am I right? I mean, so much stuff was found last year, from me and my friends to other lost pilots such as the Family Guy pilot. However, last year alone didn't have a ton of lost media be found. This decade, despite being mostly crappy, has had so many different pieces of lost media be found, with some lost media being found this decade after years, hell decades of searching. We are over the halfway point of the 2020s, so I decided because why not, let's go through what pieces of lost media have been found this decade so far, breaking it down by year. For each year, I'll be covering 3 different pieces of lost media which stuck out to me while researching. Meaning, some of these might not be the biggest finds of that year, except for maybe a few different cases. So yeah. And real quick, before I get into this video, I want to apologize for taking so long to make this video. I know, I said a while back that I was going to be making another lost media video. Technically, I started work on this back in September 2025 with hopes to release it in October that year. And then I got to November, and then I was going to release this end of year video in December, but the video was still not done. So I decided to say screw it and release it this year, 2026, whenever it was finished. So yeah, and also another thing, right now, if I sound a bit congested or whatever the hell, I am a little bit sick right now. And obviously, I think it's going to be different days when I'm recording this, so other days I might sound better. Some days I might still sound like this. So yeah, anyways, with that out of the way, let's get into the video. 2020. What an amazing start to the decade. Not sure what else to say about 2020 other than it was definitely a year. Getting into lost media, we had some smaller finds this year. At least when compared to what would be found later on. Let's talk about those. Domino's app featuring Hatsune Miku. A lot of people know Domino's, the popular pizza chain, and a lot of people may know Hatsune Miku, the popular Vocaloid associated with the voice synthesizer program of the same name. Well, did you know, back in 2013, as a Japanese exclusive, Domino's and Krypton Future Media, the creators and developers behind Hatsune Miku, would collaborate with each other, making the food delivery app known as, well, Domino's app featuring Hatsune Miku. The app was your normal Domino's app, but has some additional features themed after Hatsune Miku. Well, if you don't believe me, which, let's be honest, you probably do believe me, but for those who don't, then I got some news for you. It all started back in around 2012, when joint stock corporation Kayak, who would go on to develop the app, would start to plan the collaboration between Krypton and Domino's. In the fall of 2012, employees at Domino's Pizza Japan would be tasked to compose music using the Hatsune Miku software bank, with some music composed by the employees being selected for the app. On March 6, 2013, a commercial for the service would be uploaded to the Domino's Pizza Japan channel, and the next day, the service would launch. Now, the service would become pretty popular, with sales during the app's lifetime exceeding what Domino's was expecting, receiving twice the amount of sales than was expected. 6 days after it launched, all Hatsune Miku themed pizza boxes would be sold out all throughout Japan, with them being restocked later in the month. On top of that, the promotional video released by Domino's Pizza Japan would become popular, receiving over 230,000 views shortly after it was released, and prior to the video being private, it had over 1 million views. The app would stay up for a few years. However, between 2015 and 2016, the app would get taken down, which, due to this, the download for the app would become unavailable, making it lost media. In 2018, YouTube creator Nick Robinson would make a video talking about the YouTube ad about the app, which, while the time was unlisted, would later become privated. Then, in April 2020, Nick Robinson, with the help of Brickstein and Burrito Software, who I'm pretty sure is now known as Burrito-Cade, would make the IPA for the app publicly available, with archivist Jason Scott uploading the IPA to the Internet Archive. A few days after this, Nick would make a video on his channel talking about the journey to finding the app. Cartoon Lost and Found. Nick at Night is the late-night block for Nickelodeon that launched all the way back in 1985. But there's been some lost media surrounding this block, from various bumpers and commercials to special programming, including what we're going to be talking about here. Cartoon Lost and Found was a television special hosted by actor Adam West, who's known for playing Batman in the 1966 live-action series, with West playing Batman up until the show's cancellation in 1968. And for those who are fans of animated sitcoms, you may also recognize him as the voice and namesake for Mayor Adam West in Family Guy, who he voiced from 2000 up until his death in 2017. Anyways, getting back on track,
Cartoon Lost and Found ran for 25 minutes, with it being unknown about what it was supposed to be. Although some guesses include that it was supposed to be a pilot for a series which was never picked up, or a sort of one-off TV movie. The programming itself had Adam West portraying a character named, well, just West, working at a secluded office where remains of old film reels were kept, each one containing a part of a remain of some old cartoon from the 1950s and 1960s, with a variety of shows being, well, shown. As the special went on, characters would appear at the same location where West was, and they would also leave said location. As a note, this is probably not the greatest explanation, but anyways. After it aired, this program would be widely forgotten about, with only a few people talking about it on internet forums. On top of that, other than a few promos, the program itself was completely lost, with no other information being known about it. Until 2020. In September 2020, nearly a month after L Supersonic Q's video about it came out, an anonymous user would upload the special to the Internet Archive, making it, well, found media. Very simple. There's probably more to it, but that's all that I could find. So yeah. Bob the Builder 1997 pitch pilot. You probably either have heard of or know of Bob the Builder. It's a pretty well-known kids show with a pretty iconic theme song. You probably have heard of it in some sort of way, if it's because of the original series or the reboot, which, may I add, this is not the Bob I know. I am more used to this classic Bob. What the hell happened? Continuing on, you may even know it from the different parodies of the show. It's a pretty well-known show. Well, the original series of Bob the Builder, despite premiering in 1999, would actually be created 2 years prior in 1997, when a pitch pilot for the show would be created by Keith Chapman, who would later actually create another well-known, more recent kids show known as Paw Patrol. While Bob as a character is older, being created supposedly in the early 1990s, the pitch pilot for Bob the Builder would be created in 1997 and would be pitched to executives at the production company Hit Entertainment in May of 1997 and would be picked up, with Hit forming Hot Animation, the stop-motion animation company, in September of 1997, officially establishing the company in April 1998, and starting production on the show a few months later in July 1998, with the show premiering on the BBC in April 1999. Now, usually, when it comes to pilots, there are some cases where they do get shown to the public. If it's a public airing of the pilot on TV, or if it was released publicly either by the creator or other crew, or as DVD bonus content. These are in rare cases though. In most cases, including this case here, it was never shown anywhere, just only to executives at Hit. So, therefore, for quite a while, it was lost, with only a few behind-the-scenes images and concept art being available. Up until around December 2020. Around December 2020, Lost Media Wiki user King Mr. Harvey would get into contact with a producer for the show who had access to the pilot, with said producer sending a copy of the pilot to King Mr. Henry, making the pilot officially found. Later, it was uploaded to the Internet Archive by someone named Mike Schmidt. Yeah, that's really it. Once again, pretty simple. And that's all for 2020. Now, let's get into 2021. 2021 would be a bit more of an interesting year for Lost Media, with some more interesting finds. Once again, let's talk about them. GoldenEye 007 Xbox Live Arcade Remaster. When you think of classic FPS games, a few may come to your mind. Doom, Call of Duty, maybe one of these games on the screen right now. But one that might come to your mind, might not, is GoldenEye 007. GoldenEye 007, released in 1997 for Nintendo 64, is a well-known first-person shooter based on the James Bond series. The game was developed by Rare and was a Nintendo exclusive up until Microsoft bought Rare in 2002 and later made 007 available on Xbox Game Pass in 2023. However, did you know that in 2007, a remaster of the game was being developed for the Xbox 360 as an Xbox Live Arcade digital download? That's right, in 2007, Rare was developing an online-enabled remaster of GoldenEye 007 for the Xbox 360. However, it would never come out due to licensing issues. To quote Phil Spencer, who in between writing this part of the script and actually reading it, left both presumably Microsoft and Xbox, quote, "GoldenEye rights are so challenging. Looked at this many times. Lots of different parties to work with. we've always given up, end quote. When the remaster got cancelled in 2008, it was only 2 months away from being fully completed. Throughout the years, people would hear about it through different sources, with the earliest mention of it that I could find being from the Cinema Blend post about it, supposedly from 2008, which seems to be from prior to its cancellation. It also cites another website which it is now down, but the earliest mention of it that I could find post-cancellation is this Unseen64 post about it, supposedly from 2010. Although it appears to have been updated throughout the years, as there is mentions of a find from 2016. Speaking of, in August 2016, YouTube creator Rare Thief would upload more than 30 minutes of gameplay from the cancelled remaster, although the build wouldn't be released for a while. In December 2020, someone on 4chan would leak a supposed build of the remaster. However, it was password protected, being behind a 100 character password that was never shared or guessed. On January 29th, 2021, as a separate leak of the remaster, YouTube creator Grassloo00 would stream a full playthrough of the game on YouTube, with them saying in a pinned comment to expect a public release in 2021. Said release came only a few days later. On February 2nd, 2021, someone going by the name of Sean Beans Bean would release a build of the remaster publicly, making it found media, or in this case, a found build of the remaster. Nickelodeon Studios Opening Day Celebration. Nickelodeon Studios Florida was a production studio located at the Universal Studios Florida theme park. Opening in 1990, multiple different things would be filmed here, including Family Double Dare, the 1999 and 2000s Kids' Choice Awards, all that, and a certain pilot. I don't know. We'll talk about that later, though. To celebrate the opening of the studio in 1990, Nickelodeon would air a 3-hour special, simply titled Nickelodeon Studios Opening Day Celebration. The special was hosted by several Nickelodeon personalities, such as Double Dare host Mark Summers. It had featured several celebrity appearances, such as Steven Spielberg and... oh god. However, after this special aired, it would become lost media, with the only piece of the special that was public being an incomplete VHS recording of the broadcast. In 2012, a search for it would begin on Facebook, with an accompanying YouTube video being made related to it, which would later be deleted as the link just leads to a "this video isn't available anymore" error. If I can find it while editing, I'll make sure to put it on the screen. In December 2017, YouTube user Chris Graves would upload the final 48 minutes of the special with commercials, leaving around an hour and 20 minutes of it missing. Then, in March 2021, the full 3-hour special would be uploaded to YouTube by user T.A.T, making it found. The Garfield Show Rodent Rebellion Special. Wow, I really ran out of stuff to talk about for this year. The Garfield Show. I don't think it really needs any introductions. You've probably seen or at least heard of it. If it's from actual episodes of the show that you've seen or memes from the show, you've probably seen the show in some sort of way. The show is based on the popular comic series known as, well, Garfield by Jim Davis. But did you know that there is lost media revolving around it? Well, considering that I mentioned it here, indeed there is. The 5th season of The Garfield Show, which was the last season of the show, only consisted of a 4-part special called Rodent Rebellion, which, little side tangent here, while there were 4 parts to it and presumably 4 episodes like what the Garfield fandom wiki and Rotten Tomatoes suggest, websites like Wikipedia says it's only 2 episodes. I don't know how many episodes in total there was, hence why I just said 4-part series. So this goes to show, I don't know, it's researching critics are like, you know, I mean, like, even earlier with the Hatsune Miku stuff, like, I had to put on the screen, I don't know anything, because there's different sources saying different Anyways, the special revolved around Garfield, Odie, and Ermal trying to defend the town from an uprising of rats who were stealing everyone's belongings and framing John for it. The special aired in October 2016, and while other dubs of the specials would resurface online, the English dub wouldn't resurface online, and wouldn't appear on any home media or anything like that, leading to it becoming lost media. The English dub would remain lost for nearly 5 years, with the only trace of it being a trailer for the special. However, on June 11, 2021, YouTube user Fincells would upload a low-quality recording of the special taken from the Boomerang television channel, technically making it found media. However, over a year later, the official Garfield show account on YouTube would upload the full HD special. So you could argue that technically it was found in 2022, but the Lost Media Wiki says the found date was June 11, 2021, so we're just gonna go with that. And just like that, we are done covering 2021. Now it's time to cover 2022. Okay, so in 2022, there was a ton going on in the world of Lost Media, with some more major finds happening that year. For a third time now, let's talk about them. 1982 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, a staple in the United States when it comes to, well, Thanksgiving. Personally, I've never seen it, mainly because where I live, we celebrate Thanksgiving in October, which is a month before the state, and therefore, a month before the parade. The parade is immensely popular, with an estimated over 20 million people watching it each year. However, despite this, there's actually some lost media revolving around the parade, to be exact, with the 1982 parade recording. Now, the 1982 parade would be known for a few different things. The fact that it was affected by high winds, causing damage to 5 of the balloons, that it was one of the last appearances of the Snoopy balloon that had been in the lineup since 1986, although it later returned for the 1985 parade before being retired once again. And for fans of Sesame Street, this parade had the last public appearance of Mr. Hooper's actor, Willie, as he would be hospitalized a few days after the parade and later passed away. On top of other stuff that happened during the parade. The 1982 parade was also one of the only parades to have not fully resurfaced after it happened, with almost all of NBC's parades since 1981 being widely bootlegged except for this one, with only a few clips from it being available. So you know what that means? That's right, it became lost media. Goddamn, take a shot every time I say lost media in this video. Despite nearly everyone in North America having some sort of home recording device, no one would share the full thing, with, as said, only a few clips being available, including some clips from the 1982 parade appearing in later years, such as the 1983, 1986, and 1990 parades. An initial lead to someone who might have had the full thing would be Amy Jeffers, who would upload a clip in 2012 showing the Clinton High School's marching band section of the parade, with being believed that she had the full thing. However, she wouldn't contact anyone in regards to releasing the full thing. As the years would go by, clips would start to be found related to the parade, and on April 11, 2022, user Retro Game Planet would upload previously unseen footage of the parade, including a performance from Keith Carradine, the Sesame Street float, and the Kermit, Olive Oil, and Woody Woodpecker balloons. Later that day, the remaining balloon appearances would be uploaded to YouTube. With all of these finds being uploaded, it was only a matter of time until the full thing would be found. And that would end up happening only 4 days later. On April 15th, 2022, Retro Game Planet would send the full parade to user Laura Brannigan Forever, who would then go on to upload the full parade to YouTube, making the parade fully found after being mostly lost for nearly 40 years. Sesame Street Episode 847. Sesame Street probably doesn't need an introduction. It is a classic educational children's television series that's been running since the late 1960s and is one of the longest running, if not the longest running, children's show. For how long this show has run for, it is not surprising that it has some lost media surrounding it. From segments of the show being lost to whole episodes being lost, such as what we are quickly discussing here. Episode 847 was an episode of Sesame Street that aired only once in February 1976. The episode revolved around the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz losing her magic broom while flying over Sesame Street. There is more to that, of course, but this has been covered over and over and over again, and this video is already getting kind of long, and with the other stuff that we're going to talk about, it's going to get longer. So I'm just going to cover some quick points about it. If you want a more in-depth video about the search, then I suggest checking out Blame It on Jorge's video about it. The episode would be received poorly, with letters being sent to Children's Television Workshop, reportedly from angered parents whose children were traumatized by the episode. To be exact, with actor Margaret Hamilton, who portrayed the Wicked Witch of the West in both this episode along with the classic 1939 Wizard of Oz movie appearance as the witch. This led to additional test screenings of the episode taking place, with the results being inconclusive, with a large portion of the test audience being more fascinated than scared by the witch. Either way, this episode, outside of the one time it aired, would never be aired again. For decades, the episode will remain lost, with people mentioning it throughout the years. However, in around 2016, a proper search for the episode would begin. In February 2019, it would be announced that over 4,500 episodes of Sesame Street would be archived in the American Archive of Public Broadcasting, with it being confirmed that episode 847 would be included, but would only be available for viewing at the Library of Congress. Months later, in November 2019, Craig Shimon, who is the president of the Jim Henson Legacy, would host a Lost and Found event celebrating Sesame Street's 50th anniversary. During this event, clips from both episode 847 and 2985, or better known as Snuffy's Parents Get a Divorce, would be shown. After this, not much new stuff would come out about it. The episode is viewable due to it being at the Library of Congress, but it hadn't been archived digitally at all. At least until June 2022. In June of 2022, to be exact June 18th, 2022, the episode would be leaked in its entirety by an anonymous user on Reddit. This leak resulted in the episode being fully found. However, the AAPB, and presumably Sesame Workshop, would attempt to prevent the leaks from spreading, with them temporarily banning private screenings of the episode and attempting to take down re-uploads of the episode. However, if you go search for it, you can easily find it. Got chocolate milk SpongeBob ad. SpongeBob! Yeah, that's all I gotta say for the introduction. In February 2001, Got Milk, a well-known advertisement campaign made by Guppies, Silverstein, and Partners for the California Milk Processor Board, would publish 2 advertisements for the campaign. These advertisements featured SpongeBob and Patrick enjoying a glass of chocolate milk, with them getting milk mustaches. However, the mustache kept on vanishing from SpongeBob due to him, well, being a sponge and just absorbing it. As mentioned, there was 2 advertisements made for it. The first one was a print ad version of it, with that one appearing in magazines. This one just showed a 3-panel comic of what was mentioned a minute ago. This also appeared to have been an advertisement for the You Wish special on Nickelodeon. The second one was a television ad. This one also showed the same thing, although it showed SpongeBob trying to get a chocolate milk mustache a few more times. Getting different types of mustaches, with it ending with SpongeBob putting his whole face into the glass of chocolate milk, which he still absorbed. This one had no other advertisements attached to it, unlike the print ad version. Now, while to my knowledge, the print ad version would be archived, the commercial wouldn't, leading the commercial to become lost media for quite a bit, with the only proof of its existence for the longest time being people discussing it on the Sponge Buddy Mania forums, as well as news reports which mentioned the ad. However, around November 2021, or at least that's the earliest I could find, something would happen. An anonymous user on the Nick Stories Discord server would upload a screenshot of the commercial publicly online, giving us our first look at the commercial. Now, after this, no real new updates would come from the search, until almost a year later. On October 14th, 2022, user, I don't know how to pronounce that name, would post a camera recording of the commercial to the Lost Media Wiki Discord server, making the commercial found, with a VHS rip of the commercial being uploaded the next day. And with that, 2022 is now done. Now, let's get on to 2023. 2023. Yeah, I got nothing else to say. Let's just get into the Lost Media finds for this year. Cartoon Network NBA All-Star Slam interviews. I don't know how to properly segue into this. I mean, both Cartoon Network and the NBA is pretty well known, so let's just get into the part that became Lost Media. In February 2003, Cartoon Network would air an NBA All-Star Slam Marathon from 12 to 6 p.m. This marathon would lead up to the tip-off of the 2003 NBA All-Star Game on TNT, which is Cartoon Network's sister network. Throughout the marathon, there would be interviews of NBA players telling viewers about their favorite Cartoon Network characters, and would introduce some of the best cartoons featuring those characters. In total, there were 13 interviews that aired, which mostly all of them would become lost. Initially, 5 out of the 13 interviews would be found, with 4 being found in a 2019 upload of the commercials from the marathon by Captain BZ, and 1 being uploaded by C. Martin Crocker, who's also known as the voice actor of Zorak and Molter from Space Ghost Coast to Coast and The Brack Show in 2012. Then, on March 19th, 2023, the rest of the interviews, including the ones that were found beforehand, would be uploaded by user RetroCCN, making it found. Bubble Guppies Pitch Pilot. Bubble Guppies is an animated kids series created by Robert Skull and Johnny Belt that aired on Nickelodeon, with reruns airing on Nick Jr. The series revolves around 6 fish-tailed children learning about various preschool subjects throughout each episode with their teacher, Mr. Grouper. The show ran from 2011 to 2016, but was renewed for more seasons between 2019 and 2021, which aired from 2019 to 2023. Like other shows here, I grew up watching this show, so imagine my surprise when I found out that there was lost media surrounding this show. And, of course, it's related to the pilot. In September 2006, Guru Studios and Nick Digital would produce an episode for the series that would be pitched to Nickelodeon, known as Happy Clam Day, with it being finished in January 2007. This version didn't have many of the same voice actors that would appear in the final series, and the animation would be drastically different from the final series. In October 2007, Guru Studios and Nickelodeon would have the series due to premiere on Noggin during the 2007 and 2008 television season for the first season. But by June 2008, only 10 episodes would be produced for the show. And then, in November 2008, Viacom would lay off approximately 720 staff members from the company, which include employees at Guru Studios and Nickelodeon. Due to this, the show's producers would choose to give up hope on the series, with it going on the back burner. Until Wildbrain heard about the series and decided to pick it up, making adjustments to it, with the series premiering in January 2011, with 20 episodes ready to be aired. So yeah, to my knowledge, it is unknown what happened to the 10 episodes that were produced beforehand. It's unknown if they were actually produced or if they're unfinished. But the pitch pilot, which is all finished as mentioned before, would, of course, become lost media and would remain lost media for over a decade. In 2010, a year before the series would premiere, a video would be uploaded to YouTube titled Nick Kit Uber Hot Mix Lossless Desktop.m4v. This video contained a clip from the pilot, although it would later be privatized in 2019 before later being completely deleted. Although this video would later be found in 2025. Later on, an animation reel from 2012 would be found, which contained a short clip from the pilot along with a logo for it. Throughout the years, 2D images, concept art, another small clip, and a screenshot from the pilot was surfaced. However, the full pilot wouldn't be found until June 2023. On June 20th, 2023, 10 days before the series finale would air, an anonymous user going by the name of Doria would share a Catbox link containing the full pilot, with it being unknown how they obtained said Catbox link. On top of that, a pitch document created by the original creators of the series would be shared by them as well. Mario Victim 1 unedited image. Mario. I don't think we need to introduce this plumber. He's a pretty well-known gaming icon, and a pretty old one at that as well, first appearing back in 1981. Except this isn't the Mario you're thinking of. I mean, it has to do with Mario, but it isn't what you're thinking it is. Mario is a creepypasta surrounding a ROM hack of the 1991 SNES game Super Mario World that was posted on the SMW Central forums. I am not going to cover the whole story here, so I suggest you go read it yourself or go watch a reading on it. Or hell, maybe go play the original ROM hack yourself. But spoilers for the ending / aftermath here. So, at the end, one of the SMW Central co-founders figures out that a text file that was included in the ROM, which the author mistook as a ROM file, was actually an image file. And after trying to manually convert the text file to an image file and only be able to see the very top of it, they would go to Google's image search feature, inputting the image and finding this image as the second result, which matched the top part of the image that was converted. Now, the really interesting thing is, the original unedited version of this image would actually be a mystery of where it came from, just like many other creepypasta images such as Smile Dog, Red Mist, and Jeff the Killer, which, like said images, people would start a search for the original image. Over the years, there would be rumors and theories on where the original image came from people speculating that it was a real image of a dead body, to other stuff like it being an edited image of Amanda from Saw 2. However, on September 2nd, 2023, Discord user God, or God, would post an image in the Discord server known as Victim Core. This image was from a Flickr link, which would be confirmed by the alleged creator of the creepypasta to be the original image used for the creepypasta that got edited. The image itself was, of course, edited, and only a few days later, on the 9th, by extracting the EXIF data from the image, users Act8113 and Randomizer would find the original fully unedited image, making this found. With 2023 done, there's only 2 more years to cover. So yeah, let's get into the next one, that being 2024. Let's just talk about the lost media found that year. The Boondocks Fox Pilot, The Boondocks, You've either heard of it, seen some stuff related to it, or have never seen it or heard of it ever. It was an animated sitcom created by Aaron McGruder based on a comic strip of the same name that McGruder made. It ran from 2005 to 2014 and aired on the Cartoon Network block known as Adult Swim. However, did you know that this show started off as a Fox production? That's right, in 2003, the Fox Network ordered a 6-minute pilot for an animated series based on the comic strip, with McGruder and film producer and director Reginald Hudlin working on it. Throughout the production, Aaron would face many difficulties, mainly having to do with broadcast television being restrictive. Eventually, it would be completed. Unfortunately though, in the summer of 2004, Fox would reject the pilot. However, a certain channel would be interested in it. That channel being Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network would express interest in the pilot after Mike Lazo stumbled upon it, and would end up picking up the show in September 2004 for the Adult Swim block, ordering 15 half-an-hour episodes, which would air in November 2005. Obviously, the Fox pilot would end up becoming lost media, as if it didn't, then it wouldn't be mentioned in this video. In 2016, a 21-second clip from the pilot would be posted to Twitter by series producer Carl Jones, which showed that the animation style was completely different than the final show, with it being closer to the original comic strip style. This would be the only thing found related to this for a while, besides some speculation that the pilot was shown at some conventions, and would remain that way until 2024. On February 17th, 2024, a user going by the name of Cal Eastwood would upload the full 6-minute pilot to the Internet Archive. It is unknown how he obtained the pilot, but either way, this results in the original pilot being found. Ulterior Motives. Let's take a break from talking about lost pilots and games and other stuff for a bit and talk about two different topics for these next two entries that haven't been covered yet in this video, starting with Lost Music, or Lost Wave as it's more commonly known as. On October 7th, 2021, What's That Song user Carl92 would upload a song to the platform. What's That Song is a website dedicated to helping people find songs through snippets posted on the website, with people being able to both upload snippets and help others find songs. This song was uploaded there, with a description of mid-80s, bad quality, everyone knows that. The song itself would be known as Everyone Knows That, mainly due to the alleged lyric of Everyone Knows That, plus the fact that it was included in the original description. Ironic for a song which no one knew the name of. Shortly after, the snippet would be uploaded to YouTube, with this pink, purple, whatever color it is, boombox, as the main thing you see in the video, which would become tied in with it. Throughout the years, people would look and look, with no real results, with there being various theories popping up. However, after nearly 3 years of searching, it would be found in a pretty interesting way to say. On April 28th, 2024, Reddit user South Pole Ball in 1True5867 would discover an almost full version of the song. And out of all places where they could have found it, they found it in a 1986 adult film. The exact scene where it appeared was a sex scene, which probably explains why such a short snippet of a song was shared, as in the full thing, you can hear the actors, moaning, doing the thing. Although it's not really known if this is where Carl92 got the audio from. Either way, through the discovery, people would find out who composed the song, that'd be Christopher Saint and Philip Adrian Booth, and after the discovery happened, Christopher would release official lyrics to the song, revealing that the lyric that everyone thought was Everyone Knows That actually said Everyone Knows It. And later, they would release a remastered version of the song. Now, while most people considered this found media after this discovery, some people wanted the master tapes to be found, as it was the only thing that hadn't been fully found yet. While there were attempts at mastering the audio to remove the moaning sounds, plus a re-recorded and remastered version that the Booth brothers put together, the original master tapes of the song hadn't been found, and originally, at the time of finishing this part of the script, it hadn't been found. Until a few days after it was done. On April 28th, 2026, which coincided with the 2-year anniversary of the original discovery, it was announced that the Booth brothers had found the master tape for Ulterior Motives, which would end up being released on May 29th, 2026, which coincided with the release of the Backrooms movie, which, and I don't think this is a spoiler, so I'm just going to say it, Ulterior Motives appeared in. So yeah, officially, this is fully found, but for the sake of sticking to the timeline that I want to lay out, I'm counting the original discovery related to it that was made in 2024 as it being found. Anyways, next topic. T.A.T. Communications Company closing logo. For the second one, let's talk about a lost production logo. The T.A.T. Communications Company was a television production company founded in 1971 by Norman Lear and Jerry Parenchio, known for producing shows like The Jeffersons, One Day at a Time, and The Fact of Life. T.A.T. would initially be credited by name only, but in 1979, a production logo would begin to appear at the end of airings. Said logo would appear up until 1982, when the company became Embassy Television, following Lear and Parenchio purchasing the Avco Embassy Pictures Corporation. This led to the retirement of the T.A.T. name and logo. The company would go through multiple different names after this, all having to do with Embassy in some way. Later, they would be bought by the Coca-Cola Company, and later, Sony Pictures would buy the company, who would then fold the company into Columbia TriStar Television in 1998. During that 3-year time period of T.A.T. having a production logo, there would be no real publicized recordings of it, eventually making it fade into obscurity and becoming lost. Of course, the company and the logo wouldn't become lost or anything. Through print ads showing the logo and, of course, the aforementioned credits, there was proof that it existed. However, said credits wouldn't have the actual closing logo for T.A.T., making that fade into obscurity, with the only sort of proof of them having a closing logo for it being from discussions made on the Closing Logo Wiki, now known as the Audio-Visual Identity Database Wiki, or ADVID for short, leading to a search for the full logo starting. Throughout the years, only audio recordings of the logo would be found, showing a jingle, and would remain that way up until 2018. On January 1st, 2018, a video titled October 21, 1980 Commercials would be uploaded to a channel which would later be terminated called Pinoy 4. This video looked like your usual capture of commercials and other stuff that appeared on a television channel. However, at the 2-minute and 24-second mark, the T.A.T. logo could be seen for less than a second before getting cut off by the CBS logo. This would give people their first visual on how this closing logo looked. A few years later, in January 2024, the tape where Pinoy 4 got the clips from would be sent to Logo Central and Sam Bonzi, allowing it to be cleaned up into a higher quality, with said higher quality version being uploaded to the AVID YouTube channel. Now, the rest of 2024 would go on, not much would be found related to this, up until the last few days of the year. On December 28th, 2024, YouTube user Board's VHS Pile would upload a video. This video contained the credits to an episode of The Jeffersons that was airing on CBS in, supposedly, July 1980, going based on the description. Now, this would be your normal end credits, if it wasn't for a little thing that appeared at the end. That's right, at the end, the full, uninterrupted T.A.T. Communications Company logo would appear. This tape was found in a collection of other tapes from the 1980s which the uploader received, and they just so happened to have come across that in one of the tapes, resulting in this logo being found. Alright, now I've covered 2 different things which I haven't covered here yet. So, let's dedicate this next year and the final year for this video to one topic: pilots. That's right, it's time for 2025. 2025. What a year for lost media, especially when it came to pilots for shows. I mean, like, the 3 I picked here are all pilots, which were found in 2025. But, of course, other stuff would be found this year as well, which I'll quickly put on the screen. Anyways, let's get into the 3 that I picked for this year. Drawn Together pilot. Drawn Together is an animated sitcom created by Dave Jesser and Matt Silverstein, which aired on Comedy Central from 2004 to 2007. Like always, prior to the show being picked up, a pilot presentation will be created to showcase the idea of the show, with it being created by Jesser, Silverstein, and former character layout artist for The Simpsons Jordan Young, sometime in 2003. In October 2003, the pilot will be screened for the at-the-time programming executive of Comedy Central, Lauren Carraro, who immediately allowed the project to go forward. 4 years, barely anything would be known about the pilot, with the only known production details for it coming from a 2003 Variety article, and with the only known clip of it being included in the behind-the-scenes documentary that was in the Drawn Together movie DVD. However, on March 17th, 2025, Silverstein would upload the full pilot to his YouTube channel. Ironically, despite it being uploaded by one of the people who made the show, the pilot would later be taken down by Paramount. Goes to show that copyright can still extend to people who helped with or even create shows. However, it is still on the Internet Archive, so yeah. This was pretty short, but don't worry, these next 2 have quite a bit to them. Dora the Explorer pitch pilot. Dora the Explorer probably doesn't need an introduction. It's a pretty well-known kids show that aired on Nickelodeon. So let's just cover the pilot part. Sometime in the late 1990s, the pilot for the show would be created and shown on Nickelodeon, who would greenlight the show, with the first episodes for it coming out in the year 2000. After the pilot was shown, it would be locked away in the vaults like most other show pilots. The pilot was produced by Funline Animation, who, spoiler alert, would play a major role later on during the search for the pilot. The plot of the pilot is the same as the episode Beaches. And one of the more notable changes related to the pilot is that some of the characters' designs looked different than the final ones, with the most clear one being Boots. Skipping ahead a bit, in 2018, Infinity Gates of the Lost Media Wiki Discord would find a low-quality clip of the last few minutes of the pilot on the Funline Animation website. A few years would go by and there would be not much updates when it came to new finds, up until 2023. On May 25th, 2023, YouTubers Riley Power and Evangeline would find a 10-year anniversary video interview with the creators of Dora the Explorer, which contained clips from the pilot. Then, just over a month later, on June 28th, 2023, Riley Power would find an NPR interview from 2008 with one of the creators of the show, which had audio of the pilot's theme and the opening lines from the pilot. Then, a few months would go by with no other updates until October of the same year. On October 28th, 2023, Funline Animation, through their website, would release Speed the Explorer _1, which contained some higher quality clips from the pilot. Now, after this, not much would be found related to it. There would be no new finds that year, there would be no real new finds or anything for quite a while, and people would keep on searching, but to no avail. Until 2025. On June 23rd, 2025, out of nowhere, Funline Animation would upload the pilot to YouTube, resulting in this being found. Of course, it would be taken down shortly after, but if you search for the pilot, you can find it pretty easily. Me and my friends. Of course, we can't talk about 2025 and Lost Media finds without bringing up one of the more popular finds that year, that being the Backyardigans' first pilot, known as Me and My Friends. In case you don't know what the Backyardigans is, the Backyardigans is a CGI anime kids show created by Janice Burgess. It ran from 2004 to 2013 and was a pretty popular show. However, like most shows, the idea of the show is actually older than its airing date. In 1998, Burgess, a television producer for Nickelodeon at the time, would be given an opportunity to pitch a live-action TV pilot as requested by her manager at the time, Brown Johnson. Burgess would pitch a concept titled Me and My Friends, with her taking inspiration from her childhood for the concept. The concept was about 4 full-body puppet characters embarking on adventures in their shared backyard. The 4 characters she would make for this concept would be Uniqua, an adventurous, unique creature whose personality is based on Burgess herself, Pablo, a blue penguin with a tendency to panic, Tyrone, an easygoing orange moose, and Tasha, a self-confident yellow hippo. The pilot would be storyboarded by Nickelodeon artist Thomas Henry. It would be filmed at Nickelodeon Studios, Florida, from September to November 1998. Although, the pilot wouldn't be made into a full show, with Nickelodeon declining it in favor of Dora the Explorer. Yes, it was coincidental that his entry appeared right after the Dora one. However, Johnson insisted that she liked Burgess's characters, and would like to see them in a different form, which would end up happening in 2002, when Burgess reworked the concept into an anime pilot, which would later be greenlit by Nickelodeon, and would become the Backyardigans. Now, that is where stuff would usually end for most pilots. However, Me and My Friends would end up being an interesting case when it came to pilots. A case which has been covered again, and again, and again. If you'd like a more in-depth history on this pilot and a search for it, just like episode 847, I suggest checking out Blame It on Jorge's video on it. But, basically, people would be looking for this pilot, with the only sort of available footage of it being a 3-second clip with no audio that was included in a 5-minute compilation video. However, as it turned out, allegedly, the admins on the Backyardigans wiki would end up having the full pilot and were just hoarding it. Yeah, allegedly they had the full pilot and were just hoarding it. Why? I guess we'll never know, because I have no clue myself. Their hoarding efforts, however, would end up not being successful, as, on June 26, 2025, someone in the Lost Media Wiki Discord server would claim to have it, and send various images of it, and would hint at releasing it, before backtracking and claim the images were AI. I remember this day, and all I remember thinking when I heard about this was, I guess Paramount got to them, because I had a feeling that they were actually real. The images looked too real to be AI,
But at the same time, though, AI can be really scary nowadays, as you never know what could be AI generated or not. Either way, I ended up going to bed thinking it wouldn't be released for a while, just to wake up the next day and see the following. Yeah. So, what? Yeah, so on June 27th, 2025, shortly after that whole thing went down, someone on 4chan would post a Catbox link which led to the whole pilot, and later, the pilot would be uploaded to YouTube by the Lost Son. As you can tell by what I just said, I did not expect this to happen at all. I expected it to take a bit longer than a few hours for it to come out, like maybe a few days, maybe a few weeks. But no, a few hours wherever the whole thing went down is just... wow. And the really funny thing is, this shows that the previous person who claims to have these images were actually backtracking, as, guess what, in the pilot, these frames, there's the on screen right now, that the person claimed were AI, actually made an appearance in the pilot. So yeah, they really did have the pilot, but I guess out of fear that Paramount would go after them or that something else would happen to them, I guess they backtracked. I don't know why they backtracked though, because, you know, it eventually did get released. If it was by them or by someone else, because, you know, 4chan, anonymous, so you never know. The pilot's public release, or leak, was done in memory of Burgess, who passed away in 2024, a day after its 72nd birthday. May she rest in peace, along with anyone else who I mentioned in this video who has also passed away. Currently, the pilot remains found, although Paramount has obviously been trying to take down copies of it. However, once again, you can find it pretty easily if you search for it. Now, I would talk about lost media found in 2026, but despite there being quite a bit of finds, there hasn't been much that really interested me to where I want to fully cover them. I'll put some examples on the screen of media that's been found this year, but yeah, maybe at the end of the year, I'll do another video covering 3 cases of lost media found in 2026, maybe more, which will probably come out in 2027, being realistic here. Yeah. Anyways, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I really hope you did, as I spent quite a bit of time on this. And, yeah, until I upload again, later.